Now, the South African media and entertainment industries yesterday suffered a double blow following news of the passing of Dr. Jessica Mbangeni as well as Thabiso Sikwane. I am joined now by Pastor Enoch Phiri, who worked with both women on various projects. Pastor, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon, despite the circumstances,
Absolutely,
of course.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here, and greetings to the viewers.
I want to start off by reflecting on your experiences with these two giants, if you will. That's Bishop Mbangeni as well as Thabiso Sikwane. What moments would you say stood out for you when encountering these two women?
You know, starting with Dr. Bishop Jessica, you remember as Africans, especially as pastors, we come from the background where missionaries told us to discard our cultural values and traditions and our cultural things, you know. And Dr. Jessica found a balance of bringing Africanism as well as spirituality based on the Bible. And she was a proud causer. And I remember the first time that I met her, she wanted to know Isduko, my totem name. Then I said, you know what, in Zambia we don't have totem names, you know. So like that's the first thing that stood out with me, because she is somebody that stood, number one, for the gospel of Jesus Christ, and number two, she stood for our Africanness, so that these two, Africanism as well as Christianity, can coexist. And this is what stood out to me big time.
And Thabiso Sikwane, I mean, famed broadcaster, known for her brilliance, but also her efficient way of doing things as well.
Absolutely.
Maybe let's speak to that. When you think about her, and yes, it is difficult to speak about somebody in the past tense, but I'm sure there are good memories to share there.
A lot. You know, like I've been involved on media from a pastor's point of view. Some of the shows that I've done are very controversial, you know, and she would call me after watching most of the episodes. She wanted to engage me at a very intellectual level, and you know, it's nice to be a pastor, to understand the Bible. Then I would always run away by giving her Deuteronomy 29 verse 29, which says all secret things belongs to God. Don't go any further asking me questions. So but what I can say is that her thinking, her mind in terms of being a producer has really narrowed and changed the narrative of how many South Africans look at women, and also how South Africans look at life in general. So she is a person that impacted my life very positively, especially where thinking is concerned. She was a thinking tank. Any subject that would raise, she would tackle that subject, you know, you know, it's a sad news that all this is happening just when we are moving away from August month, or I mean Women's Month, you know. But she was an amazing person. She loved her family, and above all, she loved Christ. You know, I prayed with her on a number of issues at a personal level as well as at a professional level.
So going back to Dr. Mbangeni, she was known for her profound impact on the community.
Absolutely.
How did her ministry influence but also inspire those around her in ways beyond this immediate outreach?
Of course, remember, in South Africa, after democracy, there have been a lot of questions which was posed concerning colonialism, as well as the position of the African church. So she brought balance, especially if you have to advocate for the body of Christ, for the church. She brought balance in the sense that she did not demonize African values and African culture, but also at the same time, she did not condone what the missionaries did by imposing colonialism on the African church so that the African church can be westernized. But she brought balance in the two, and she was able to reach out even to people who were traditionists, who did not want to hear about Christ or about the Bible. She had a way of reaching out to them, and I've seen people, those who consider themselves as African spiritualists, whenever she was given a stage to speak about her plight and the plight of the gospel and her root as an African, of course, a woman, it was just amazing.
Pastor Phiri, I'm going to allow you to put your broadcasting hat on here as well,
okay,
as we get into the next theme
of
questions. But also looking at Thabiso Sikwane's career, we spoke about her versatility and her depth. Are there any lesser-known contributions that she made to the media that you believe are particularly impactful?
You know, a number of things, especially from the side of a producer. Most people know her as a TV and radio presenter, but more than that, she presented a number of shows which controlled a certain narrative. Not controlled per se, it's a wrong way to use, but maybe let me say, a narrative which empowered an African child, you know. So there is a lot of lessons that I can learn, because she was not afraid to dream, and she was not afraid to go out there and make an impact and air her opinion. Yeah. And for me, especially coming from the Christian background, I was so much proud all the time when she would seek the face of the Lord, even when she reached the crossroad in her personal life.
So your collaboration with Thabiso Sikwane must have been quite unique from what you're describing right now. Can you share any specific project or moment that really highlights the essence of this working relationship, but also her creative spirit?
You see, I've been in the media for some time, and especially from a Christian point of view. And from time to time, I would consult from her because I wanted to create television which won't be too religious, but to be secular, but also relational to people from different backgrounds. Sure. And I remember I approached her when I started doing the journey on One Gospel. I approached her for her input. I said to her, I want to do a show called The Journey, and I want to interview Christians on the platform. And I remember what she said to me. Why Christians only? Why not any South African, black person for that matter, who has contributed to humanity and has made a positive impact? You know, and for me, that was mind-blowing, because I was not going to think it into that sense. So these are one of the things that she contributed. Sometimes she would watch my show and she would call me and she would correct me. You know, so you know, sometimes it's not easy to be corrected when something has already been aired to accept. But it's such kind of little moments where she positively impacted upon my life, because I come from a background where television is something which is self-taught. You know, so people like her and Mbangeni and others, you know, they have been anchors in my life to coach me in this walk of television.
Dr. Bishop Mbangeni's teachings likely resonated deeply with many, from what I take.
Yeah, yeah.
How did her personal approach to ministry influence her own spiritual growth, or even her professional approach, if you will?
You know, you see, like myself, because I consider myself as a Pan-Africanist, in the sense that I thank God that I know Jesus both historically and by revelation. If not, I would have swayed back to the things of African spirituality. Now, every time that I would have an engagement with her, she would bring light to the gospel in a manner that would be so acceptable to people from all walks of life, especially African people, because whether we like it or not, there is a war, a silent war in the church, which is a war between those who are pro-African spirituality and those who are 100% pro-Bible, like me. But with her, she found a way of bringing balance between the two, where both parties will feel as though they have won the argument. Yeah.
Well, Pastor Phiri, let me also share my thoughts as well regarding these deaths, to say that it's quite clear that they've impacted people that you knew very well. It is a sad case. But thank you, Pastor Enoch Phiri, for offering such a thoughtful and heartfelt reflection on the lives of Dr. Bishop Jessica Mbangeni, as well as a broadcaster, Thabiso Sikwane.